Good morning. My name is Tumi Tladi and welcome to my YouTube channel. Listen, this YouTube channel, every single thing that makes up this content, every single video, every single discussion, every single follow-up, every single topic on a specific series, it's good. It's really good, and I promise you that at the end of this video you're gonna want to subscribe and tell the other fellow developers until somebody makes use of this content on this YouTube channel. With that being said, let's get down to business. I'm currently in the midst of a Xamarin series. We started, I don't know how long ago. I believe this video, it's a video number 104 if I'm not mistaken. So now, what we're going to be doing is this. It's very simple. Okay, so we're going to be covering a topic on voice messages. In our previous episode, our previous video number 103, we covered this page called client page. Well, in fact, this page, it's called access pin, but programmatically I called it client page. So we should mark this as done, and then we might refer back to this page in order for us to access a voice message. So this voice message is a feature. So there are two types of implementation of this feature. The very first one, it's meant for viewing the recordings sent by the customers, and then the second one is create those recordings, and then we're going to look at both of them. The first session is going to be this one, video number 19. The second one is going to be this one, and then I'll continue to update the list. So let's go now and open up Firefox while it is running in idle mode. Let's hope that it's going to wake up. Now, the idea behind voice messages, please watch a video titled Voice Messages on ASP.NET Web API series. That's when I explained in detail what was the motivation behind the feature of voice messages, and I'd like to show with some images on my website, and then before we actually log in. Okay, so this is Identical Docs homepage. This is MVC, ASP.NET MVC. Behind the scenes, it has ASP.NET Web API. So I want to scroll just a bit down and go to slide number 2. So the business or store owners in my world, they are called clients. They are my clients. This gentleman, it's called, his name, it's Frank. He's not Frank, but I'm going to give him the name Frank, right? He's my client. This guy, he is either the customer of Frank or a new visitor to Frank's business or store, right? So now this is the customer, this is the client, and we explained that this voice messages works in both directions, but primarily the feature works very well when the client sends a voice message to the customer or the visitor to say, listen, since you last dropped this request that you want me to either make copies or print out, you haven't come and fetch your document and therefore pay me. So then instead of doing back and forth calls or emails, even if there are no information or there's no information such as contact details, then Frank, which is the client, can send the voice message. Please watch the video in ASP.NET Web API series. I even show that. Okay, so now test one account. We're going to create a scenario that it belongs to Frank. So I'm going to log in right now because we need to be authenticated. So test one, that's not going to work. So super secret password. Now I am authenticating test one account. Let's give it a couple of seconds. Good. Now let's just confirm the number of the businesses that test one, which is in this case Frank owns, which is 11 in total, right? So this is just to demonstrate, okay? And then what happens is that we're gonna focus on this business specifically called Kagishola Papers, and I believe all my demos I'm gonna make use of this business specifically. So Kagisho's La Papers, it's owned by Frank. Yes, it is online and it's not deleted, meaning I'm the only one who can delete it, and then they can see the status if it was deleted or not. And why is it online? Meaning that right now it's online to be discoverable by customers or visitors. And please stay tuned for that, where I get to show the map. How did I build the map? How did I show the businesses making use of the pins on the maps? So now he owns 11 businesses. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use this business to authenticate myself when now I generate access pin. So we did cover this in one of the previous episodes, particularly this video where we showed how it works. I'm not going to go through this whole process. I just need to generate access pin. So if I now go to the app physically, launch the app, this is a splash screen, and now it's going to check for the updates in a second. There we go, it's done. So if I click I'm a business or store owner, I'm then presented by this access pin or client page, right? So this is where I need to generate. So let's go and say we want to generate for Kagishola Papers, yes, and then click generate, and then it was success, and then this is the message, and then this is the business number, and this is the access pin. So I'm going to copy this one, and then I'm going to type in IGHQ. I just want to show you that it's case insensitive, and then here I'm going to paste that. There we go. We did cover this, the validations, everything in that video, and I'm going to authenticate. Good. So now for today's episode, we're going to talk about this first part of the feature, which is having to view the recordings now, because my app accommodates two types of users, right? The business or store owners and the customers or visitors. So now I'm working primarily with a business or a store owner, which is my client, a client in this case. And we just saw that they are now authenticated, which is good. And then I just want to show the first part of it. This is where they get to see the recordings, you know. So this implementation, it's similar for the customer. In this case, let me do this to say this is for the client, so that we don't get confused when I do the customer. So this is for the client, right? So we are focusing on viewing the recordings, and then I want to show every single thing that build up on this page, every single pieces, right? So for now, it's not going to work because I haven't yet finished the implementation where the customer creates a recording for the client. I haven't yet. Okay, so let's go and see this in action. Let's open up a Visual Studio 2019 shared project. Give it a couple of seconds. Visual Studio has been in idle mode, and we're gonna start with the model following the MVVM pattern. Please do check out the video titled MVVMS. Yes, models, views, view models, and services. So let's see if for the startups, yes, there we go. Now this feature is a voice messages. So voice messages, yes, you see two types of users making use of this feature, which is client and customer. So I'm going to focus on the client, where we look at the voice messages model. Okay, so this is the first part of the M, which is model. Let's give it a couple of seconds, few more seconds to a minute or so. There's no content like my content that exists on the internet. There isn't. I'm showing you the entire thing. I did show this project structure in Social Explorer right now. All these projects, what they do. There is a mini series called project structure. Yes, I believe it's project structure. Oh no, Social Explorer. And then I did extensive series on version control, and then the third series I did was on ASP.NET Web API, targeting both .NET Framework and .NET Core. And now this one is Xamarin series. There's no content like this content. Good. Where there are mistakes, and I'm going to be honest about mistakes. Where there are bugs, I'm going to be honest about those bugs. Where there are some weirdness, and I'm going to be honest about the weird stuff you're going to be seeing. So now pay attention to everything here. So what we have the model, right? These are all the properties, the color. Now, even though I won't be able to show you when there is actual voice message from the customer meant for the client, but I want you to understand this design, how I put together the properties for each class, because then when we look at the customer, all of this is similar and it's going to make sense, but there's a difference on the web API, and I want to show the difference on the web API looking at the data access layer at the later stage. Good. So we have the color, we have caption, we have audio path where it's been stored, like the entire path of the audio. We have when it was created, we have for which business, and then whom, what is the customer reference, right? Cool. So let's do this. We're done with the models. So now let's go to views, content pages, voice messages for client again. And when I focus on this guy, let's open the page. So the page is ready for us. Then let's open the code behind. Let's see, what do we have? Okay, we do have something. Good. And we'll talk about this guy. So we are done with the views. Now, the code behind of the actual page, it only has a constructor that initializes the components. These components like toolbar item, it's a component, which is a control. Stack layout is a control, label is a control, all of them. So initialize all of them. And then what I do, I override on back button pressed, where I'm saying when it's been clicked, don't do anything. And let's prove that. So if I click this button, nothing happens. You see that? Nothing happens. Even if I click this one, back, nothing happens because I'm preventing it. Why would I want to allow the user to click this button? Because when they click this button, it's going to go back to that access pin page, and we don't want that. Alternatively, we provided a logout functionality. We'll explore this in a second. Cool. So this is the purpose of overriding on back button pressed. Now, the page. I want to look at the page, but not yet. I want to go to the view model. So let's go to the view model, voice messages for the client. There we go. And I also want to prepare the service. Let's go to voice messages, and then we're going to focus on voice messages service. We'll come back to it also. There we go. So I think these are all the pieces that we need. I'll come back to this guy. And then this is worth noting that currently I'm using my laptop to record this Xamarin series because I get to do the live demos like this because of the graphics on my laptop are good. But on my computer, I'm still busy rewriting the services to be dependency injectable using the constructor. So I'm using Microsoft dependency injection system, so I'll show that. Currently I'm still busy with it. I will come back and show how it works. So that's a version 2 of my application where I'm using dependency injection system. Stuff like this they need to be getting rid of, but I'll explain that as soon as it's done. Okay, so the view model. Now the view model, like we know it, every view model in this application, they all inherit from base view model class, and then we did cover this base view model class. There we go. Please watch this video. It's quite interesting. Now, it's quite interesting because what I have here, why do we have audio player? But why do we have the audio player? See, something's weird here. I'll come back. Let me just try to scroll through this code in its entirety. Oh, I know why. I know why. Yes, I know why. I do know why. There is something like this. I do know why. Okay. Yes, I do. I remember why it's there. Okay. So global variables, I have access to this plugin audio player. The plugin name is called plugin.audio recorder. So let me show you the dependencies, the package. The package name is called plugin.audio record. That's what I use to record the audios in Xamarin. Okay. So this guy, I'm just gonna give it, a reference. Okay. Or a variable, local variable. Cool. And I have the services, right? Voice messages, service, and then I instantiate this entire object. Like I said, this will be replaced by dependency injection system. Yes, I'm aware, because I'm supposed to be using constructor to inject this. Okay, so let's go back to the service. Now on the service, what I do, it's asynchronously, the method is asynchronously publicly exposed, returning a list of voice messages model. Remember the model? It's going to return a list of all this. Okay. And then the name of the method is get all voice messages asynchronously. And then var client, obviously instantiating HTTP client object, and then preparing a variable name called JSON. What I'm going to do, I'm going to say, now go to the client, get string async. I'm going to give you the URI. As you can see, it expects string requested URI. So it will make use of the URL from web API URL. Do you see where it's pointing? identical.co.za. And then this is the actual route. And then because the route expects something, as you can see, it expects a business number. So what I want to do is that I want to go to this route. So let's go to utilities, web API routes for V1. I still need to deal with this. Oh, it's a class. So let me show you something interesting here. Give it a couple of seconds. And then let's go to voice message. There we go. So this get all. So which get all are we? Get all for clients. As you can see, get all voice messages for clients. And then we're going to be focusing on this one. So what happens here is that it expects something towards the end. I know this is based on that /. And let me go to web API. I can even use the .NET Core web API. So let's go to contract v1 and then API route v1 to show you something. Let's give it a couple of seconds. There we go. So let's scroll and then get all. This is the one, right? It's gonna hit this endpoint. Do you see the expected business number? There we go. So this is the web API route, right? But when it comes to the mobile Xamarin, I only need to say, hey, / and then we're expecting the actual value, which is from a global variables, the business number. There we go. Cool. And then we're going to return everything as JSON. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to prepare, there's a variable name called voice messages, a list. So that means I'm going to use a JSON converter class to deserialize the object that comes in as a JSON into a list of voice messages model, and then I have that as a list, as you can see, a list of voice messages model, and I'm going to return this as a list, as is the signature of our method, to return a list of voice messages model asynchronously. So this is the service we are done. Now going back, we have the object being instantiated, and then we have isBusy. Now, as isBusy property is of type of Boolean, we want to show if it's visible or not, and still making use of onPropertyChanged method from base view model. We have a busy indicator if it's visible or not, still a Boolean, and then it's true by default, and then still making use of onPropertyChanged. And then we have now the actual property called voice messages model of type list of a voice messages model. Okay, we're going to need this property, and then we have a list view. We want to show if a list, we want to determine if a list view should be visible or not. So by default, it's false. And this makes sense because if there was something here, then a list view would appear. But instead, I'm controlling it using, let me move this guy. I'm controlling it using this property called list view. Should it be visible or not? By default, it's false, because I mean, if there is something, we can toggle this guy. Okay. And then play, if it's enabled or not, there is a button, because like I said, I'm preparing this when we get to the customer. All will make sense. So play, it has to do with the audio player. So where we want to know, can we play the voice message or not? So it's a Boolean also. And then list view, no data, it's visible. So what happens is, this is precisely what we see here. So this whole thing, if it's not a list view that shows the items, it's going to be a list view, but the one that doesn't have a data should be visible. By default, it's false. But in this case, we are showing it because there's no data, where we are being greeted with this message that says, dear user, there are currently no voice messages available for you. So this is list view, no data, and then a nice icon making use of a font awesome icons. We did cover that video. Please watch it. It's a very interesting video. Font awesome icons. It's very, very interesting. That's how I was able to leverage this icon, that icon, and this logout icon. This is a refresh. There's a logout or sign out icon. Cool. So that is list view, no data. And then we have a button that says create voice messages. So this create voice message, if it's visible or not. So what happens is this button. Do you see this button? I believe, yes, it is the one. Create voice messages. If it's visible or not, yes, it's a button. And by default, it's false. And right now it's showing up. So why do we have this property? That's a very good question, because right now it's visible if it's targeting this button. We're about to find out. I didn't do this prior. That's the thing about me. I want to be surprised the way you are probably surprised right now. I want to figure out certain things the way you're trying to figure them out yourself right now. Cool. Then we come to commands. Please watch an episode or a video where we covered commands. They react to buttons being clicked. There we go. Commands, episode number 10. So refresh command. So what happens is this. When I click this button, it's going to trigger this refresh command, of which is going to call asynchronously show info passing through. Do you see that true? So true is this flag. Is refreshing. By default, it's false. But when I click it, meaning that this method does two things. When I click authentication or authenticate from the previous authenticate button that we saw from the previous page, it called this show info, but it was false by default, which is the constructor did the work for us. So this is the constructor, it did the work for us. So we call this the first time. But if you look at this method, it takes in a flag called is refreshing. By default, it's false. That's why I didn't bother myself passing anything here. But the second time around, when I now click the refresh button, I pass in a value of true, of which this is what we are, when we click that, it's going to pass in true. So that is refreshing. We'll take a look at it. So this is the command. It reacts to this button. The logout command reacts to me clicking that button, of which is gonna log the user out. We'll take a look at the method in a second. And then we have a play command. It's a button that shows when you click on the voice message, it will show the button that says play voice recording. So yes, but I'll explain this when I get to something that can show. So just now, just know that there is a clickable play button. Okay, so let me do this. And we have this create voice message command. Like I said, yes, it reacts to this button. Okay, but the question was, why is this property that says, should we show it or not? Why is it even there? We'll figure it out. Okay. And then we have the constructor, obviously, with app center analytics, where we are just using the device in name to say, yes, that device launched this page at this time. We know this. Like I said, all my view models has this app center analytics. And then I initialize the audio player to audio player. And then what I do, I'm saying, listen, I want you now to deal with this event handler called finish playing. We're going to subscribe to audio finish playing. So let me quickly go to that event handler. When it finishes playing, when it will do that, the play is enabled should be true. That means you click it, it becomes false. And when it finishes playing the extra recording or the voice message of the recording, it will then not show, but enable the state. And then what we do, we're going to say voice message is visible false. Oh, the voice message again, it's visible false. What is this voice message? It's visible false. Let's go and figure that out. Let's see, voice message is visible false. Where is the property? Voice message underscore is visible. I see this is true. Isn't this supposed to be a property? Okay, then let's do this quickly. Let's hover on it. Oh, it comes from a base view model. Voice message, if it's visible, okay, it comes from a base view model. Okay. And then we are done with the constructor. Eventually it's going to load show info. So that's the first thing we're going to focus on, show info. So showing the info, we said refreshing should be no by default. We're going to skip this guy for now. It's going to start showing the busy indicator, and then it's going to say it's busy visible set to be true, and then we're going to do try. And then on the catch, we're going to, if there's any exception, we're going to cause the physical device to vibrate using this vibration API from Xamarin Essentials. We're going to use the crashes API from App Center to track the error. And then we're going to use the user dialogues from user.dialogues NuGet package to show the message box to say there's an exception, this kind of exception for voice messages, it's an error. So this is the exception part of it. And then when everything's said and done, we're going to dismiss is busy. We're going to dismiss our busy indicator. And then that creative voice message is going to now show, which is the button, this button. Okay, eventually it's going to show. As you can see, it is visible. So let's go inside the try. I saw we have int random number for color set to 0, and I'm going to use random object 1 to 5. And then we're going to go now use that voice message service, get access to get all, or rather execute or call get all voice messages asynchronously. And remember, it returns what? A list of voice messages, and we have a property ready for it, which is a list of voice messages model. And then if this guy it's null, like in this case it's null, or the voice message count is 0, this is a very perfect defensive programming where I check, is it null? and then the count is a 0. If any of them is true, it's gonna it's not gonna show the list view, and then it's gonna show the list view that has no data, and that's exactly what we see here. The list view itself is being hidden and is showing the list view no data, which is a container for this image and these two labels. I hope it makes sense. Else, it's a vice versa. We're gonna show the list view if this guy is not null, or the count it's more than 1, or it's not a 0, and then it's gonna remove or hide the visibility of no data, which is this guy. And then we're gonna go but this is wrong. Why am I even looping inside this thing if it's null? That's very interesting. Because now when you grow as a developer, you realize that this cannot even execute if the whole thing is null. Makes sense, right? It should not even execute. It should not. So I need to refactor this because it can create a bug that's going to be costly for performance. What do you think? If you have any comment, suggestion, please leave them down on the comment section below. This for each should only be inside the else, where the voice message model, it's not null, or the voice message dot count, it's not 0. Only then we're gonna loop using the for each. This is not right, because there's no justification why it's even outside the if or the else part. Nevertheless, now let's say we found 2 items. So the very first item, we're gonna go and set the audio path. So this is the path. So this is where it actually lives. Where what we're gonna do is that we're gonna set this guy using string interpolation to say that the item itself dot audio path. It knows exactly what to do. So the path is gonna be appended on this URI, and it's going to be saved on the audio path. And then we have the switch where with the random number for color, we're just going to assign these colors to the color. Remember, the model has a color, has audio path and other stuff. Okay, and that's it, 1 to 5. So those will be the cases, different colors, and it's going to break. Then that's it. Now when we play, because it takes in the object, right? So let's go to this method. When we click the play button, so let me close this guy. When we click on the play button, which is related to this command, as you can see, it passes in the play. So try and catch. We're gonna cause the device to vibrate. We're gonna track the error. We're gonna show a message box to say failed to play the voice recording at this time, please try again later. And then the title is gonna be play failure with the button OK. This is very important to do this. This is absolutely very important. Now if we are clicking it, we're gonna disable the state of the button, and then we're gonna voice message, its visible is gonna set to be true, and then text color assigned there, and then the message for voice message is gonna get the message, and then we're gonna actually play it. Parameter dot to string, the actual value is gonna play using this play. You see, it takes in string path to audio file. So there's a play, and then when we click the button, this one, it's gonna go and navigate to create voice message page. I'll do that towards the end. Okay, and then the log out, when I click the log out, so it's gonna ask using application.current main page display alert, leave identical docs is the title. It's gonna ask, are you sure that you want to log out, yes or no? And then whatever response, if I click it now, no, what did I do? If I click it now, it's gonna prompt the user, leave identical docs. Are you sure that you want to log out? No. Oh yeah, so I'm gonna click no. So if it's no, nothing's gonna happen. But if it was true, it was gonna pop to root. It knows what to do, but I'll show this towards the end. I believe this is everything. And the refresh, let's see if it's working. If I click this guy, you see it shows this guy loading, and then disappear. It hides everything. There we go. So let's check that. So we clicked that refresh command, and a refresh command called show info passing through. And then let's go to show info, which is refreshing. There we go. If it's true, now we're gonna the list view and the list view that doesn't have data is gonna be set to false, both of them. And we're just gonna show create voice message. Oh, the create voice message button also. This button at the bottom is gonna disappear, and then it's gonna show this busy indicator. Let's do it again. So 3 things are gonna disappear. See, now it did even quickly because there's nothing. There we go. So this is the view model. So let's look at quickly at the view, the page itself quickly. Now the page, we have access to view model using this view model. We have access to pancake view, and I've been spoken about this NuGet package. It's called pancake. So let me just close this quickly, and then I'll be done. So let's go back to dependencies, packages. Where is it? There we go. Xamarin.Forms.pancake view. So this NuGet package 1.3.7 version number. So what it does and what it allows me to have access to is this nice rounded container, because Xamarin doesn't have a control that can do this. It doesn't have. So it's a pancake view. I can even use this to make it a rounded circle, but I chose this shape because it's a nice shape. Okay, and then we have the expander. Well, you won't get to see expander. The busy indicator, you saw it. Show connectivity. If I change the state of the internet, it's gonna react to that. And show message, show voice message also. And this is the name, and we have the background color. We have, you see, has back button false. It doesn't have the back button, the same one as we can click back here. I removed and disabled and removed the back button there. And there's the title. There we go, identical docs. The title is a property from base view model, and this is how we map the binding context of that view model. And the toolbar, now the first one is going to be refresh, which is that one. This is how you add a toolbar. I love the clean architecture when it comes to Xamarin as opposed to Android. Android, it's chaotic. You have to add, I believe, menu stuff. It's chaotic. And then you see, even the toolbar can still react to command. And that's how we bound to we bind it to a refresh command. And then you still see toolbar.icon image source using font awesome. This is how we get type of glyph. That's how we got this guy. That's the first toolbar. The second one, let me quickly scroll. The second one, it's of logout. This one, logout, and it reacts to a responded to logout command when it's been clicked using this icon. And then we have the actual content for the page using the absolute layout as with all my other pages, and then with a parent container stack layout. And then the pancake view, this way starts the pancake view. Now the pancake view is interesting. So the pancake view as a container, this is the height request, which is 100. The corner radius, this is how I control the corner radius. And then horizontal options, fill and expand, vertical options, and background. It's using the header background, this color. And then the margin, and then the border. There is a nice border that you can't see, but there's a nice border there. And the border thickness 2. And then inside I have another current control that has 2 labels. The first one says all voice messages. That's what we see there. it has a style, making use of the font size, the font weight, the font color, blah 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 blah. So yes, and then there we go. So this is a pancake view, and then I have a stack layout that reacts to the base indicator. It shows the base indicator, and with the message loading, we saw it. If I hit, there we go. It is the one that get to be shown. That's why base indicator, if it's visible or not. So we are done with this one. And then we have the list view. So unfortunately, list view I can't show, but this list view is bind to list view if there were data coming from the web API getting data from database. Has uneven rows set to be true. Item source, you see, bind to that list. Okay, it's a list of a voice messages model. It's pulled to refresh enabled false. I disable them because it doesn't do that. It's ugly. It's refreshing false, separator, color, So this is stuff I'll show when there is content. But I just want to go to the second one, which is the stack layout. So I'm binding to list view, no data. You see, I first have the icon of type label control, and then there's another label that says dear user. There we go. And then this one that says they're currently known. That's what we see here. Finally, I have this stack layout for the button that's at the bottom. Reacting to a list view, and then there's the label. Well, it will show if there was something. Other than that, we have the button, because if the list view it's visible because it has some data, this will show. This data will show, but it doesn't show in this case, and I'm just showing the button. And that's it. And at the bottom, I only have connectivity and voice message view. Cool. Now, I want to show, if you click this button, we'll do this in the next episode. What happens now when you create the actual voice message? You see, it went now to a different page with the ability for us to click back. It's now back. And even if I go back, it's still calling that show info method. I can do this. And if I use this back button, it's working perfectly. But if I do back, it doesn't work. Again, if I do back, it goes back. But if I click again, it doesn't. Good, which is good. And then there we go. We'll talk about this in the next episode. But I won't be able to record though. That's an unfortunate thing. I don't have another device. I went to get another device over the weekend, but the weekend was cold, so I was lazy to do so. But I won't be able to record because I'm using this device to record right now. Okay, so the logout, if I log out, it's gonna pop to root. There we go. And if I try to go back, I tested these use cases. It should not do anything. And this is the purpose of startup page. We did cover this video called startup page. It's a very, very critical class. So we'll do this again, but now for creating the voice message. So you can see the plugin, how you set the plugin, how you record, how you do everything. With that being said, thank you very much. I hope this video was informative as it was to me. A lot of stuff were clear, because it's been a while. I think almost a year now since I developed this. But you can tell that I'm still remembering certain things that went into, this app itself. With that being said, thank you very much. I hope you found this video informative. Like I said, I have. Give it a thumbs up, like it, leave a comment if you have any questions, share the video on your socials. Finally, click on the subscribe so that when I drop more videos, you get to be notified. Thank you very much. Until next time.